What is up, everybody? Dan and the Fireman here. We're going to be going over some crashes and close calls real quick. This is a MotoStars video, just came out today. We're going to go over the plan method. We're going to learn from these mistakes. We're going to learn from the successes, because the goal is to not make the same mistakes that these people are making so we can become better riders. So let's take a look at this one. We're starting off here.
Hello everyone, today I've got another intense video for you.
Okay.
It's definitely important to learn from the others' mistakes, so
That's what I just said. That's what I just said, MotoStars.
check this out and try it safe.
Oh no. Yeah, there's a T-bone. Ooh. Oh, he got the wind knocked out of him. He got T-boned. Whoa, what? We caught on fire. All right, let's take a look at this.
Hello everyone, today
So we're coming up to here. We're in a left-handed turn. We see one vehicle pass,
so check this
and
out.
we make a choice. We should still be seeing that this vehicle is coming. I'm trying to figure out why this rider might have just went out. I see these signs right here, but it looks a lot like these signs. They're just telling you that, hey, there's pedestrians that could be possibly going. Maybe misjudged it. There's no cars behind him. I don't know why we didn't wait.
Try it safe.
Because then now we just get into this T-bone accident. So we're thinking when it comes to mechanism of injury, right leg immediately. Right leg, it looks like he got ejected off the bike though. And there's the impact. Oh, that's not good. So right here, initial, our body's naturally going to put our arms out. This is why we wear full gear. Elbows are going to hit the ground. Hands are going to hit the ground. Back, that's why we wear a jacket. Shoulder injuries. Let's take a look though. One thing I do want to point out though, look at his helmet. Okay, this is why we strap in our helmets, everybody. The helmet wanted to fly off. Even if it's snug, it wants to fly off. Just like you see people when they get tackled or they get into a car accident, a motorcycle accident, whatever it is, their shoes go flying. Even though they're tied, the shoes will go flying. Backpack wants to go flying, it's kind of strapped in. Helmet wants to go flying, it's strapped in. It stays as best as it possibly can. It's still going to protect the skull, maybe not going to protect his beard, but that's why we strap in our helmets, everybody. So there's the impact right there, right on a curb. That's going to be a levered. So if you just hit the flat ground, it still sucks. But when you have something kind of sticking out where basically, it's not PSI, but right when it hits on that curb, right on that one spot, it can do a lot of damage. So there's going to be this right shoulder, very painful. But if you notice the helmet, if it flew off, guess what? We've been missing part of our face. We'll be hitting the back of our skull, the base of our skull, which is going to cause a lot of bleeding down to the brainstem, shut off all your breathing and your heart rate. It immediately twists, so we're thinking maybe possible lumbar spine issues right there. The legs go one way, our torso goes the other way. Nice little twist on the spine. That's not good. A lot of people have died from that, or at least became paralyzed. Landed it. Full face helmet. So he's in a lot of pain. That's a pain grunt. I don't think he lost the air out of his lungs. It could be, his diaphragm might have spasmed a little bit, but that's a pain. I kind of want to know what he's dealing with now. Terrible crash, guys. Watch out for those left turns. Only go when it's safe to go. Wait a little bit longer for that second car to go, because there's no cars coming else after that. Getting T-boned is not a good way to end your day. Oh, geez. Little mob ride going on. Oh! What the heck is going on with these videos? This dude is pinned under the bike. Now, we got some hot parts, possibly. But if he wasn't wearing a helmet, his face is getting crushed. And if that's all that pressure on your chest is not going to allow your chest to expand when you're breathing, so he's suffocating too. There you go. Get the bike off. That's an emergency move. You got to get the bike off because he's not going to be able to breathe. Oh, and he's stuck to it. Oh, it's in his pants. That lever was in his pants. Now, with enough force, that's his handlebar or his hand grip. But I've been on a few calls when it comes to just children, not on motorcycles, but on their BMX bike. They're riding, they're having fun, and the BMX bike, the front tire flips, and those brake levers on the front, front rear brake levers. One of the brake levers, somehow, I've had 5. Okay, that's a lot more than I thought I would ever have. But those brake levers they go inside your thigh when you land on top of them. So I'm concerned when it comes to the abdomen area right here. I'm also concerned about the genitalia. You know, we get some punctures. That's not good. Very lucky he had people around him, but mob ride probably fell from crashing or stunting. So be very careful when it comes to that. Let's take a look at this one right here. We got a passenger. We went a little wide. Passenger goes flying. Left leg possibly got smashed against that. Let's go take a look at this right here. Now, what we do is we diagnose and try to figure out. Okay, so we're going around a corner. Take a look at that. Head and eye movement is going towards the corner. Maybe going a little too fast. I have my phone on my phone mount right there. I use rock form, so link in the description if you want to get a phone mount. But went a little too wide. See the corner? See the corner right there? Going a little too wide. So when it comes to riding with a passenger, he might be able to go at this speed around this corner by himself very easily. When you add a passenger, it's going to mess up your turning, it's going to mess up your braking, it's going to mess up your acceleration. You have to be a little bit slower on the acceleration because if you try too fast, they're going to get all wobbly and you're going to have some issues. If you try to brake like you normally would, where it's like maybe you need 100 feet to brake, and you try to brake with a passenger, you might need 150 because you need a little bit more total stopping distance when it comes to riding with a passenger. And same thing with riding in a corner. It's going to knock you out a little bit more. It's going to push you towards the outside because you have more weight having to make that turn. So be very conscious about that. If you have a passenger, you might have to take the first few of anything a little bit slower, a little bit easier just to get the hang of it. And then you kind of know the new normal when it comes to riding with a passenger. So we were coming around here though, went a little wide. Not fun, not good. And then our passenger gets ejected. Okay. So at least she has, or he, I don't know, has a helmet, gloves, looks like at least a long sleeve, maybe some armor in it. Regular Nikes though. I get it. You know, you guys are just going on a quick little date, maybe going on a quick little ride. You don't want to put full gear on. Maybe she's just a normal passenger. She doesn't ride herself, doesn't have her own gear. So here's the thing. Whenever I only take people on bikes that are very personal, family or like a girlfriend. And at that point though, if I know I'm going to be taking them on a bike, it's mainly going to be the girlfriend. Before I even do that, I'm going to invest in gear for my girlfriend. The gear will last 5 years. The helmet will last 5 years. Jacket, pants, gloves, and boots will last 5 years, especially if they're not riding themselves and they're only riding as passengers. They're going to be hardly used. So I'm going to get some cheap stuff in terms of, or inexpensive stuff, but at least it's going to have the armor. At least she's going to have a full face helmet. At least they're going to have all that stuff. It's not going to be the same quality as mine because I'm going to be using mine way more. But I'm going to do that investment just in case something does happen. I'm personally taking responsibility for my passenger because I'm the one riding. Just like if I'm driving in a car or my sweet Chrysler Pacifica Touring, I'm going to make sure she wears a seatbelt. All right, let's move on to this one. Let's take a look. So we are going a little fast, crossed over the gore area. Okay.
The rider had enough time.
Why is our speedo blurred? We're going to a sharp turn. We have a chevron. You see that U-turn kind of thing? All right. I'm always looking for signs, everybody. I always want to diagnose and figure out what's actually happening. So yeah, I want to always find out what's happening here is that we want to take an exit to the right, okay? Whatever it is. Here's the exit. That's what it says. We got to turn right. Okay, very cool. If you notice though, right when the video starts, I don't know if this is what they send to upload or MotoStars cuts this part, is that our speedo is blurred. We have a vehicle right here, sweet Chrysler Pacifica, there it is, and we're cutting across. So we're probably speeding up to lane split to get to our exit. When in reality, guys, this is what I want you to do is to not rush through. Just because you can on a motorcycle doesn't mean you should. Some of these things, you want to treat yourself as a car still. How about we just apply a little bit of the brakes back there, maybe roll off the throttle, get behind this vehicle, and then just kind of sit tight for an extra 2 seconds that it would have taken us to finally get to the exit. So slow it down, get to the lane that you're supposed to be in. Maybe don't cut somebody off, get behind them, and then they're going to either go straight or turn with you. But now you're kind of set up for the turn. Because if we're speeding and we're lane splitting to get in front of this car before the exit, the signage will say that it's going to be a sharp turn. You already know it's an exit. You have to be slowing down for the off-ramp. So we get up to here.
This situation is
It even shows it. Signs. There was a sign that we just passed that I didn't point out, but we have a sign there, another caution sign here. We're not set up for the turn. We're crossing the gore area. There's lots of debris in this spot right here, so we're already setting ourselves up for a pretty bad situation.
The rider had enough.
We got another. Just even looking. Let's make sure this is HD. Yeah, 1080p. So we have a chevron here, chevron here. The road disappears around this blind corner. We're not set up. We're not going a little too fast already. We got ourselves in this bad spot. There's already another sign saying, hey, we should slow it down because it's a U-turn basically, and a stop sign's coming up. We're not set up for this turn. We're not. And then maybe there's a little bit of a panic because honestly, we could probably still make this turn, but his target fixation, because he panicked, is off the road. So it starts back there, everybody. That's what I'm trying to get at. It starts back here. Why you have to use massive advanced skills, a lot of practice, skill set, just to manage a turn when we could have slowed it down back there, right? Panicked a little bit. We could have made that. Now we don't have the blurred speedo. We're going 43.
Oh!
And now we dump the bike. He's got full gear at least. Smart rider. At least acquires full protective equipment. But let's seek and maintain our skill set. Yeah, the phone is a little stuck. At least with the rock form, you can just do this. It's a little quick little lock. So I have the little sport ring so I can carry it. But when it's on the bike, this sport ring pretends it's the bike mount. It's a little quick little lock. So that might be a little bit easier to do. Link in the description if you want 20% off. And it's magnetic. It's magnetic. I love it. Just like the Cardo. Magnetic, the edge. Oh, we have this. Oh, whoa. What kind of camera angle? Is this okay, it's a 360 camera. I thought there's a passenger on the back looking forward. So we talk all the time about side of the vehicle, right? The pattern. Now, the whole point of recognizing patterns is because that's the first thing you think of. Or not the first thing you think of, that's the first thing your brain sees. Are patterns. Humans are pattern recognition machines. We'll see a pattern first, and then we'll start to process and use our analytical brain and be like, what is that? So what I want you guys to start paying attention to are certain patterns. That's called side of the vehicle. It's a pattern. We just see the side of the vehicle, and then we're like, is that going to be a problem? So first, we see the brain processes side of the vehicle. Okay, now is it going to be a problem? Sounds an awful lot like plan. So we're positioned for safety all the time. We're trying our best, put ourselves in a good position for safety. Locating hazardous situations. Boom, pattern. Hazardous situation, side of the vehicle, possible. We already know that they're going to come out in front of me. They could come out in front of me. It's a perpendicular thing. It's an intersection, right? So when it comes to assessing, then you're like, okay, they're stopped. They're not moving. Not a hazard. Not a threat. But if they keep moving, they're an active threat. And we have to get ourselves in a new position for safety. How do we get ourselves in a new position for safety? We have to do emergency braking, emergency swerving, or emergency acceleration. Those are the three things that we can do. We have to navigate with those three things to get ourselves into a new position for safety. So once we see that pattern, this should throw off some alarm bells. So we tried emergency braking. Now, you don't have a ton of total stopping distance to do that, and we had to layer down. It's hard to see because of the nighttime frame rate and you know the image sensor on these GoPros or 360 cameras aren't that great. That looks like an astigmatism. Anybody have astigmatism? The lights. So one thing we could have done instead, because we didn't have enough total stopping distance to stop in time, is that we could have swerved. Remember, 3 different things that we could have done. Emergency brake, emergency swerve, emergency acceleration. Could have swerved on that situation. And that's the thing is a lot of times with motorcycle riding, you're not going to have enough time to really brake. Braking is really good when you do have plenty of space and time, or it's going to slow you down enough so that you can find that escape path to swerve. A lot of times swerving can be your best option. Where on motorcycles, those are the most agile machines on the road. If you have a good skill set, you can swerve pretty good and get yourself out of a lot of situations. Sometimes you might have to actually accelerate out of situations. Sometimes you have to brake so you can buy yourself some time, but a lot of times you're having to swerve. So get really good at swerving. Had to layer down, and people will call this a success. The rider didn't hit the vehicle, the motorcycle did. I think of a success as that it's a close call, not a crash. Crashing to me is never a success. There's a failure. How do we learn from that failure? Hopefully we can, so we're still alive. But if it's a close call, I don't think it's a failure in terms of because you're crashing, but it's not a failure. It's what is it I can still learn though? And right here, this sucks. It sucks that we had to crash. Thankfully, we can walk away from it. Yeah. All right, we're having some fun. Crashed a little low side right into the guardrail. Oh, his foot is stuck. You see the foot on the bottom? Now imagine if we didn't have motorcycle boots. Guys, think about that. If we didn't have motorcycle boots and we had laces on regular shoes, or we had sandals, the chain constantly rotating just for that second before the engine shuts off, right? You're ripping your foot off. You're ripping, I'm assuming that looks like his left foot maybe. I don't know. You're ripping toes. You're ripping toes off. You're getting your foot stuck in there because the laces ripped into it. So good job on him for actually getting motorcycle boots. Oh, so that's his ankle. So his toes would have been ripped off if it was just a regular shoe. So good for him. But ankle right there, this is such a good video. So right here, it is on his ankle. So on motorcycle boots, you have malleus, is it malleus? Anyways, you have ankle protection, the little part that sticks out, the ankle, the bone, okay? That's being crushed right there. But in motorcycle boots, there's protection there. There's thermal plastic, I can't even come up with the terms, TPU. But it's going to help mitigate that crushing from the bike onto your ankle. So hopefully he maybe has like a level 1 sprain inside of his ankle versus a fractured ankle. It's only going to mitigate. It's not going to stop injuries, but it's going to hopefully mitigate some of those. That is a great example of why you need motorcycle boots. So another thing though, when it comes to gear, a lot of people have asked me, well, why can't I just wear like MX gear when I'm out riding? It's basically hard protection. So part of what I want to explain here is that yes, you might have impact protection from all these different things. I really like the fact that it does have rib cage protection and everything. You're going to have impact protection. But if you notice all the black, he's just wearing like a shirt, like a long sleeve shirt underneath. You're removing the ability to have abrasion protection, abrasion resistance. And when you do crash, you're going to get abrasions on these exposed parts. You might not have injuries on the impact parts. So still, I prefer street riding gear for the street. This is perfectly fine when you're out doing MX or dirt biking because you're not getting the road rash from falling on sand or grass. You're getting the impacts. So that's why it's designed differently. So I highly recommend getting street riding gear. He's got street, legs, pants. All right, here we go. Going around, having some fun. Somebody's gonna pull out, side of the vehicle, applied the brakes a little too hard, dumped the bike right at the end. Once again, guys, we see the side of the vehicle coming out. We start applying the brakes right here to buy ourselves some time because we don't know what they're doing. If they keep pulling out and we're able to slow down, we can swerve into the open area. Now, if we apply the brakes right here, we're applying the brakes, and they decide to stop right here, well, then we can release the brakes and then maybe give ourselves a little bit of a space cushion and keep going. So that's why it's good to apply the brakes, because you don't know if they're going to come out to here, they're going to stay right here, whatever it is, it'll give us time to make a decision to do something. Or even if we have to, we can go straight. The braking is going to help us give us an idea of what we need to do. That's why we need to practice. Oh, geez, wrong button. That's why we need to practice our braking and our swerving. We slammed the brakes right at the end and dumped the bike because we lost traction on that front tire.